Hello and welcome to the North Bank Podcast's Reacto pod.
Yay!
Right, gentlemen, it's about 15 minutes since the final whistle went in the Chelsea game. Chris, 1 point gained, 2 points dropped.
Okay, I think in view of how things have played out recently, I take a point, and I think that's how Arteta will view it as well. It's the kind of steady the ship result. So I feel sore that Trossard could have scored at the end there, but I take the point.
I haven't, obviously we haven't had enough time. I think Saliba was offside. But that's what I'm telling myself anyway, because it'll make me feel better. But I think that the linesman's flag definitely went up, and I don't think it would have counted. Can you imagine the joy and then the pain that would have followed the reality that it was offside? I think Saliba was offside.
So you're saying you're glad Trossard missed?
I'm never saying that. Steph, 1 point gained, 2 points dropped.
I think in the wider context, we have to look at it as a point gained. It reminded me a lot of the Liverpool game at home, in that we were facing a team whose form has been pretty good. Obviously, Chelsea's not as good as Liverpool, but we were away at Chelsea as well, along with a bunch of other away fixtures that we've had quite tough in this early part of the season. And so to go there, we showed them, plenty of respect, tried to play narrow, cut off Palmer, and generally was quite successful in doing that. So it ended up being a game of relatively few chances. But at the same time, a bit like the Liverpool game, do also feel like there was the chance to go and win it. But we'd take a point away at Chelsea, we got away at City, and we beat Villa and Spurs in their places as well. So, stepping back a bit further than 15 minutes, I think we have to point.
Yes, in a normal season, a draw at Stamford Bridge is okay. Man City drew there last season and won the league, so the omens are there. But our recent form, I said on the preview podcast, I asked, is a point going to be enough for us? As we were assuming at this point that Man City and Liverpool would both win this weekend. Obviously, City didn't; they lost. So we've actually gained a point on City this weekend. So that's a good thing. And I do believe City are still the team to measure ourselves against.
Yes,
it's their results that we should be matching ourselves with. Now that may prove to be a naive statement. I just point to the fixture list so far. We've played 7 of the other top 10 away from home. Liverpool have played 1 of the other top 7 away from home. Top 10 away from home. So that's a hugely imbalanced set of fixtures to make a judgment on. No, they're doing really well. What are we? I haven't looked. Are we 9 or 10 points behind them? 9. 9. Okay, yeah. And we've got to go to Anfield, so that's not good. However, they've got to play City twice, haven't they? So, but I do think on the balance of the game, I thought we were the better team, and I think that's brilliant. It's a brilliant testament to us. I don't think it was like a landslide or anything like that, but I do think we were by half time we had more control in the game. Martinelli again missed. I mean, I must go because we knew we were doing this immediate reaction pod. I was just taking notes, and so just a quick read. Martinelli final ball terrible! Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark! What was my next note? Great finish from Martinelli.
Well, yeah.
But just on Martinelli. We conceded in the 70th minute. He was substituted in the 71st minute. So the same in reaction to that goal. And Gabriel was doing his nut at Martinelli for not following Neto. And Havertz got caught as well. And so Neto had, and I think it was a good effort, but so lucky the way it got past Gabriel as it was the only place that could have gone past Gabriel to end up on target. And fair play, if you don't buy the ticket, you can't win the lottery, etc. So, again, how many goals is that Martinelli has been culpable for? not on that transition, not tracking back. I don't know. I can't remember how long Neto had switched sides, so I don't know whether he was caught cold in that sense, that it wasn't his regular opponent. But still, to have the lead, that's now Tom Eady from, I don't know, Albania reposted this. I think he's Opta. He said that's now 8 points we've dropped from winning positions after just 11 games in the Premier League this season. As many as in the whole of 22-23, and just one fewer than in the whole of 23-24. Again, the fixture, we've played tougher fixtures, and we've been down to 10 men in 3 of those games, and we were leading in 2 of those games when we went down to 10 men, Brighton and City, weren't we? So can I just read out one more reaction from Le Grove? And I think this kind of echoes my sentiment. Played well. No one going to regret a point against this Chelsea, especially at Stamford Bridge. Plenty of positives. Next part of the season is important. Chance to rack up some points as Liverpool head into a tough period of fixtures. City, the team you need to keep in touch with, not Liverpool. At the moment, I completely agree with that. So, I think it's 2 points dropped. Within the context of the game and the season, I think it's two points dropped. Steph, I agree with you. I'd compare it to the Liverpool game, which I felt was 2 points dropped as well from the position we were in, and so did you. So yeah, but anyway, but on its own, in isolation, a draw at Stamford Bridge is never a shameful result.
I just think you also have to, like you said about the Neto switch, I thought that was very interesting because Chelsea, for all the madness that's been going on there for the last couple of years, have now settled on what they do. I found their style to be, obviously they're mainly set up to counter, but they're very aggressive in the way that they sort of do things. But Maresca, he did some problem solving during the game, and he moved Neto's to the other side of the pitch. Neto was actually doing quite well against Ben White. They were having a bit of a ding-dong throughout the game, and by moving him out to the side, he just knew that Arsenal were trying to play narrow, and the goal we scored came from Martinelli going wide quite a lot more. So we'd opened up a little bit. Maresca must have seen that, switched Neto, mainly so he could bring Mudryk on, granted, but that allowed then Neto to exploit that space coming inside, and he got his shot off. Of course, we could have done a lot better to defend it, tracked him, followed him inside, because like you say, it was the only real place it could get past Gabriel. But I think, what's just disappointing is, well, for me, the game was in just different quarters. I felt we started quite slowly, and they really took the game to us, and I was wondering, but that reminded me of the Inter game. But then we seemed to steady ourselves and get a bit of control, and we ended the first half, a lot better.
Martinelli had a great opportunity to score, didn't he?
He did, and
he should have scored.
That was when I was bemoaning his finishing, because I think at that point it was the head down, I'm just going to hit it, Martinelli, rather than look up, where am I going to put it, which he needs to be, which is exactly what he did for his goal, really.
Yeah. And
he
that's
controlled
the frustrating thing.
Looked up and just went, well, there's a gap near post, I'm going to do it. So I just that coolness. Gary Neville said it in commentary, and I'm not normally sort of agreeing with a lot of what he says at the moment, but he said Arsenal without Odegaard have lacked a cuteness, and that was the cuteness he was talking about, that sort of thing. We had the cuteness from Odegaard's pass over to him at the back post, but then Martinelli's cuteness to find that gap at the near post. But then, like you say, we took the lead, but I felt like they had the stronger end to the game. Not the injury time finishes that we could have made to really snatch 3 points, but ultimately I feel like they were sort of on top at the end. So it ebbed, it flowed, it did all those sort of classic things, and I don't know. A point feels fine.
After all that, I thought you were building up to 2 points dropped.
No, I don't know. I just It's so hard to see it out of the context of recent weeks.
I was just going to say, that's the thing, is you ask
So
us
hard.
to view it in isolation, but we're scarred. We're sitting here with bearing the wounds of the last few.
The game is in isolation. I mean, because you could then factor in, if you look at the team selection, in effect we started with arguably our strongest possible 11, everybody fit, but as you pointed out pre-game, Steph, White's possibly carrying an injury. Declan Rice coming to the game with a broken toe, and that kind of, I think that played into his performance a little bit, understandably. Odegaard playing his first game. I can't believe he lasted 95 minutes.
Well,
He's
I'm
definitely
not sure
going
he
to Norway.
did. That's the problem. He stayed on the pitch for 95 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, look, it was lovely to have him back, and it's testament to his levels of fitness that it wasn't notably, he didn't flag completely. We weren't carrying him. It's just he wasn't as effective possibly in the last 15, 20 minutes as he could have been. But again, so he's coming back in, and then we've got a very off-form Martinelli playing. So, yeah, but in spite of all of those things, I thought we were the better team.
Well, good. I mean, and that's the bullishness. Yeah, that's the bullishness we need to take into the next part of the season, because like you say, the fixtures get kinder, in a word, and therefore we need to make sure that we capitalise on that and have a very, very strong sort of Christmas period.
Yeah, I think we're all quite happy about the international break coming up, aren't we?
Yeah, I've always rated international breaks. He says.
Yeah. I'm hoping the Rice injury is the Saka injury. It looked like a knock rather than a muscle injury. Cucurella hit his shin. It looked quite painful, and I'm hoping that guarantees him a 2-week break. Rice will definitely pull out. He's got a broken toe and he couldn't play properly, and he was withdrawn. If he was fit, he wouldn't have been substituted. Simple as that. And we know Partey's not going. Do you know what? Enough players might pull out that we can go to Dubai for a warm weather training camp.
All for it.
And then we've got Forest at home when we come back. And Forest lost today at home to Newcastle.
Fairly convincingly.
Yeah, quite comprehensively. Even though it was level pegging at half time, Newcastle were by far the better team. Can we... I know Man City's first game back is Spurs. Can we just have a little moment to reflect on Ipswich getting their first Premier League win since away at 1748 or something?
It's just who we are,
rude
mate.
Not to. Yeah.
There's a Spurs guy, because I don't know his name. He's a nice bloke and he seems quite sensible and reasonable on TikTok. And he put out a little video this morning saying, "Oh no, he just read that Ipswich haven't won a game all season." He's like, "Please Spurs, please." It was quite a heartfelt plea to his club not to do what Tottenham do and lose to Ipswich.
Well, they've got this nickname,
post-match.
haven't they? Dr. Tottenham. Because they will cure your bad form, basically. And I think, wasn't it Crystal Palace's first win of the season was against Spurs as well? So
yes.
It's becoming a thing.
We've been guilty of it on occasion, so I do know how it feels. We're the gift that keeps giving. New manager bounce.
Yeah, well, that's our thing, isn't it?
Newcastle.
I just can't believe we're not playing United at Old Trafford for Amorim's first game in charge. I'm absolutely gobsmacked that hasn't happened. So I don't know what's going on.
Or is Ruud van Nistelrooy using up all the new manager bounce energy now, and when the new guy comes in, it won't have the same effect? We shall see.
Well, I think they go to Ipswich, I think, is their first game. I don't know who their first home game is.
Could be a mid-table
but
clash.
Ruud has had a couple... Sorry?
Could be a mid-table clash.
Well, yeah. Well, but Ipswich might go level on points with them. So, Chris, what positives then would you take out of the game, other than your view that it was within the context a secure point, a decent point? What other positives did you kind of spot or take away from the game?
I think we just have to be grateful that Odegaard's back, and like you said, he did the full 90. Slightly concerning that we do need him so much, but it does not really seem like we have a viable plan B. So I think that's my biggest takeaway. Really, is that he's back, and hopefully we push on through these friendlier fixtures. Say in inverted commas easier, but we know they won't be. But yeah, for me, Odegaard.
Listen, any team's going to miss their best player.
Well,
Look at Rodri at City.
Yeah.
4 defeats in a row without Rodri.
It's his position though. It's not like maybe a left back, for example, where we've got a few of a similar ilk, similar profile that can slot in. He's just so vital, isn't he? He's the cog.
Sorry, I was just going to say that Sky keep rolling out these like win percentage stats for certain players, and Rodri's obviously the one for Man City at the moment, and Odegaard is the one for us, and it's kind of just proving the point that when a team misses its best player, it doesn't win as much, and it's so obvious that Liverpool wouldn't be the same without Salah, would they? Rodri's the engine that makes that team run, both kind of defensively and in transition as well, and they just clearly look vulnerable without him. Odegaard seems to be a lot of our creativity. He's our creative engine room, and so without him being able to do that and play in those pockets of space and utilise Saka in the right way, it just makes such a difference. And how much more positive in the game, I know there were still some errors in it, but how much more positive in the game was Trossard when he came on, as a substitute on the wing, just looked so much more effective than he did starting in that sort of central position.
As a substitute, absolutely. That I'm happy with him coming off the bench, and I reserve the right to review my Saliba offside takeaway, and if Saliba was not offside, Trossard stays on the bench next time.
Yeah,
because he cost us another 2 points
next time. If
yes,
that could have counted.
Yeah. Any other positives, Steph?
Yeah, for me, it's just recognising the kind of shape that works for us. I did really quite like in the first half that we played with Martinelli and Saka playing a bit narrow, and there was that brilliant stat that came up on Sky where they said in the last 15 minutes Cole Palmer has touched the ball twice, and it wasn't in any area that was really effective. And look, total respect to Palmer for that, because we know that he is such a danger man and can take the team to us. So I'm all for, in these big games, having certain games plans without the ball in order to try and nullify what the opposition have. There's still various chances that we give up. The goal we felt was a bit soft. Gusto had that header in the first half where he seemed to just bypass Martinelli again, so maybe those defensive duties aren't quite being done the way they should be. But generally we had...
Yeah, they had a couple of chances like that, didn't they? Gusto's header, and then I can't remember, Fofana had the in the second half, he got his foot onto the end of a cross, and it wasn't as gilt-edged as the Gusto one. Gusto should have buried that header. He wasn't injured at all either. He was like feigning injury because he knew he missed an absolute sitter. I'd do the same thing myself, but so I'm not knocking him for it. The Fofana one was a little bit more difficult, but again, Saliba probably just about did enough to. I think it was Gary Neville said he couldn't. Saliba knew he wasn't going to get the ball, so he just started concentrating on the player and not just kind of judging when to stop, as in not conceding a penalty. But we should acknowledge as well that Chelsea had a player booked for delaying the restart of the game.
I know, amazing. That feels like a win.
Thank you, Michael Oliver.
Yeah, but he did also. He was the one that booked Martinelli twice in 7 minutes, wasn't he? Michael Oliver.
Oh yeah.
And he's also, to my mind, and I don't care what anyone says, he's booked Kai Havertz for bleeding today. So
yeah. They'll spout stuff about him being instructed to leave the pitch and almost not refusing to, but he went down. Kai Havertz was obviously clearly of the mind, just like, well, if I go off, we're a man down. So why don't they just come on and treat the wound there? And he was like, no, having none of it. But it's just ridiculous. Because then I said in our little WhatsApp chat that The laws seemed a bit stupid because if you have a blood injury like that, we have to play with a player down. And I thought actually we were quite clever because we just kept it in that area of the pitch. We didn't try and break this. We're like, no, we need to keep it tight.
Can we acknowledge Julian Timber's throw-in? Yeah, that was brilliant.
Yeah,
the fact it didn't come on the pitch.
He's acting. Where's the ball gone? Looking around. Yeah. Oh, there it is.
Absolutely brilliant. Loved it. I think Ben White has been having a word.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ben White and referee decisions, I mean, yes, he got his goal Neto, but the way he went down look, Ben White's obstructed him, but then he's gone down like he's been shot in the face.
He's holding his face.
Is he not due a hamstring twang anytime soon, Neto? For God's sake! Oh, that was
his
really,
first Premier League goal, wasn't
really
it, for
petty.
Chelsea? So
yeah, he's annoyingly good when he's fit.
Yeah, he was one that we were kind of sniffing around, but his hamstrings are just so precarious. And I was a little bit worried when Mudryk came on that he'd shank another cross into the top corner.
Yep, narrative and all that.
Is that still his only Premier League goal?
I couldn't tell you.
I think it is. Massa madness. Right, okay, anything else? So we've got 2 weeks off now. No Premier League games to preview, and I'm kind of... It's good opportunity to take stock and...
Reset.
Look at the tough fixtures that we've had and the conditions that we've faced, and hopefully... we can only cross our fingers and toes and so on that everybody returns from international duty fit and healthy. And then we have got a fantastic set of fixtures, largely by which to rack up a consecutive run of wins, whilst Liverpool drop some points, preferably, and City continue their wonderful run.
Well, City Spurs next, so
come on Spurs.
Come
on, you Spurs. No.
Someone's not doing great out of that.
Well, Spurs tend to do okay up there, don't they?
Yep.
Yeah, they're the bogey team. I think it's something you posted earlier, Steph, as well, just as a sort of bit of a leveller almost, is the fixtures we've played away this season, if you compare them to last season, they're kind of tally out. They're literally the same in terms of point tally, because if you swap out the defeat for Bournemouth for the win we had last year and then the Villa win this year with the defeat last year, it's pretty much as was.
Yeah.
So there's, a crumb of comfort.
And we've had a tough
very different circumstances.
Fixtures.
Under very different circumstances as well.
Without our captain.
Given the sending offs and without our captain, yeah. So let's, take a crumb of comfort from that.
Okay, so when we decided we were going to do a Reacto pod, you have to do a little sound effect every time someone says Reacto pod. When
For want of a better name, basically.
yeah, please help.
Please.
Suggestions welcome. When we decided we'd do it, we obviously didn't know what the outcome would be, but not too bad. So it's not doom and gloom. Could have been better, but unscathed, I guess. No more injuries, players back. Not a kind of 2 weeks where we'll be gazing at our shoes in morose depression or anything like that. So I'd say that's okay. And there we go. 24 minutes. Yes.
Shall I hit the outro button?
Hit the outro button. Let's do this.
Nice one.
Catch you on the other side of the interlull.
Yeah, or even in the middle of it.
See ya.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at northbankpod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by The Podcast Company. You can let your family in now, Holly.
Did you hear them?
Yeah.
The screaming child.
You make him sound like some
That's been like a 20-minute meltdown, that
They've
has.
been locked outside. Like my dog.
Did you hear the dog as well?
Yeah.
Scratching at the door. Jesus.
And my dog. So,
Was that
yeah.
I thought that was the echo of my dog in it was your dog.
No, it was two dogs.